Ramayana, Chapter 19, Alone by Themselves, read by Nirvan Bajaj and Ekveer Bajaj. Chapter 19 of Ramayana, Alone by Themselves. The citizens who had slept on the bank of the Tamas woke up in the morning and looked around. They were surprised to see that Ram and their chariot had disappeared. They followed the track of the chariot wheels but were disappointed to find that it was lost in the main road to the capital. They returned home to their own houses and sought satisfaction in reviling Kekai. Without Ram, the city was bereft of beauty and wrapped in gloom. Sumantra and the princes had crossed the Tamas long before dawn and travelled far into the forest. Crossing several streams, they approached the southern boundary of the Kosal country. As they journeyed on, Ram said to Sumantra, "I wonder when I shall hunt again in the forest of Sarayu. Is hunting good for princes? Perhaps it is, in moderation." Thus conversing on many matters, they went forward. When they reached the southern boundary of the kingdom, Ram stopped the chariot and facing north towards Ayodhya, bent his head in a prayer saying, "O jewel among cities, O ancient capital of Vishwakus, shall I, finishing my penance in the forest, live to see my father and mother, and you? Grant me that supreme joy." The chariot reached the bank of the Ganga. They proceeded along the river, admiring the beauty of the river. Finding a spot of surpassing charm, Ram said, "We shall spend the night here." Untying the horses, they sat under a tree. Guha, the chief of the region, having learned already from his men that Ram would be coming there, came forward with his retinue to greet Ram and Lakshman. He had unbounded love for the royal family and for Ram. Being the chieftain of the tribes who had dwelt on the banks of Ganga, he was a man of great prestige and power. Ram and Lakshman rose to greet Guha even while the latter was still at some distance from them. Guha had prepared a lavish entertainment. He said, "Feel perfectly at home and happy in my kingdom. You may spend all the 14 years with us here. You will not lack anything, I assure you. Looking after you will be a pleasure and privilege to me. Be gracious enough to accept my hospitality." Warmly embracing Guha again, Ram said, "Brother, I know how deep is your love for me. Your wish is itself as good as hospitality rendered. I am bound by my vows and must refuse anything more. I have come to dwell within the forest and not to enjoy life as a chieftain's guest. These horses are my dear father's favorite. Pray feed them well. We shall be content with simple food and rest for the night." They lay under the tree for the night. Guha and Lakshman kept awake conversing with Sumantra. Guha said to Lakshman, "Brother, do go and rest. There is a bed made ready for you. My men will keep careful watch. None dare to do anything in the forest unknown to me. Have no anxiety regarding Ram. Go sleep." Lakshman replied, "How can I find sleep, Guha? Here lying on the bare ground is Sita, daughter of the great Janak and daughter-in-law of the great Dashrath. The great Purushotama himself who could subdue the three worlds lies stretched on the grass. How can I sleep who sees this? I wonder how Ayodhya is bearing it. The queen's apartment must be loud with wailing. I even doubt if at this moment Kaushalya and my mother are alive. My father indeed found strength somehow to say to Ram, 'Go to the forest.' But I doubt if he has the strength enough left to survive Ram's actual departure. And if he has passed away, our mothers too will have given up their lives. And here we are, deprived even of the privilege of doing the last offices to the dead. In any case, it is hardly possible that our father and my mothers will be alive to greet us when we return to Ayodhya after our term in the forest." Thus spoke Lakshman in sorrow. Guha was in tears. The night was spent in such sad conversation. Early next morning, Ram told Lakshman, "We must now cross the river. Ask Guha to make ready a boat big enough for crossing this broad river." Guha ordered his men to get this done and informed Ram. Sumantra bowed low and stood before Ram seeking his further commands. Ram understood Sumantra's untuttered grief and laying his hand on Sumantra's shoulder, said, "Sumantra, return to Ayodhya with all speed and be at the side of the king. Your duty is now to look after him." "Oh Ram, explained Sumantra. Rectitude, learning and culture seem to be of no value. You and your brother and Vaidehi are going to live in the forest. What is going to be our lot? How are we going to fare under Kaikai's rule? He now wept like a child. Wiping the tears from Sumantra's eyes, Ram consoled him. You should say this on my behalf to my aged father, who was stricken with a grief he never knew before. Clasp his feet as you have seen me do it, and assure him from me that none of us, not I, nor Lakshman, nor Sita, feel injured or sorry at having been sent away from Ayodhya. We shall look forward to 14 years of forest life, which will speed on happy wings, and then surely we shall return to his feet for blessings. Give our love to my mother Kaushalya and tell her that protected by her blessings we are well, and give a like message to my stepmothers, especially to Kaikai, lest she should think we have parted in anger. Tell the Maharaj that it is my earnest prayer that he should hasten with the installations of Bharat, so that he may be a comfort to him in our absence. Comforting Guha and Sumantra thus, the brothers got their locks matted with the milk of the banyan. They helped Sita into the boat and then got it into themselves. Guha bade the boatmen to row it across. The boatmen took them quickly across the river. At midstream, Sita offered a prayer to the goddess of the river. They talked as they went on. They reached the farther bank of the Ganga, and there, for the first time, the three stood alone, unattended by friends. Lakshman, you are my sole armed guard now, said Ram. You will go first, Sita will follow, and I shall walk behind you both. We must save Sita as far as possible from the hardships of forest life. Hereafter, there will be none to keep us company, and no fun or amusement. Ram's thoughts went to his mother Kaushalya. Lakshman, he said, should you not go back to Ayodhya and look after mother Kaushalya and Sumitra Devi? I shall manage my forest stay here somehow. Lakshman replied, forgive me, brother. I am not going back to Ayodhya. Ram indeed expected no other answer. This is the difference between the earlier avatars and the later. In the Ram avatar, the course of human conduct and the dharma governing came linked together. This has been made explicit by Valmiki. On the occasion of Sita's ordeal by fire at the end of the battle, Ram says to Brahma, who appeared then among others, and deprecated the idea of putting Sita to proof. I regard myself only as Ram, son of Dashrath, an ordinary human being. Who I am in reality, where I belong, why I took birth are matters on which you must enlighten me, and I do not know. While Ram was plunged in thinking of his mother's left behind, Lakshman ministered to him with loving words of courage and hope. They spent that night under a banyan tree and left early next morning for Bharadwaj's ashram, which they reached at sunset. Partaking of the hospitality of the sage, they besought him to tell him where they could spend the years quietly in the forest, and on his advice and with his blessings, left for Chitrakuta. And this is the end of chapter 19 of Ramayana. Stay tuned for chapter 20, Chitrakuta. Please subscribe to this channel, like, share, and comment on this video. Thank you and Namaste.